Hi everybody, Ray here. First solo episode of the 90s Addict we're doing, and we have our first guest today. The Stephen Pearcy band guitarist Erik Ferentinos is here, and I'm so excited. I'm going to try to keep it together. Erik, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Ray. Thank you.
Awesome.
It's an honor to be on your first show.
Yes, sir. Really happy that you're here, so thank you again.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. So let me just dive right in. So obviously, I know you, and the majority of fans know you from the Stephen Pearcy band. You are not just a guy that showed up during the last touring cycle. You've been there a good 20, 21 years, if I'm not mistaken.
hmm I first got the gig in 2001, and
Nice.
that was due to Steven. Actually, he had asked me to be in the band a few years before that, but I had a band in San Diego that I was playing in at the time called 13A, which consists of members of Asphalt Ballet, which was a late 80s, early 90s band from San Diego that
Hmm.
ended up getting a deal out of Hollywood. And at that time, we had won the Miller Genuine Draft Battle of the Bands, and I had faith in the group I
Wow.
was in. And so when he first asked me, I turned it down foolishly. But lucky enough for me, he asked again in 2001 when he had to replace one of his guitar players, and I've held on to that gig since that time. 22 years, and here we
That's
are.
awesome, man. That is awesome. And, as anybody that's listening to this show, and I'm sure you'll find out, I tend to ramble, but I'm medicated, so we should be okay.
Me too.
Um, Right on. So one really, I'm going to fanboy out here real quick. The real reason I got to know you as a guitar player was not only because I just loved the guitar, but I saw a video of Steve, a live video Steve posted on his website. God, this had to be 2004, and he was doing "I'm Insane." And he was having a really good day, and it was a really slamming performance, and you were over there just rocking out.
He loves doing the early stuff, and that is a good song off Out of the Cellar. Most people are familiar with that record. I consider I'm saying to be kind of a deep cut, but the older fans certainly remember it, and it's a good one. I always do like a I believe in that one. No, that was a different song. I was going to say I do a jump in, but I think I jump in that song sometimes. But it's yeah, it's a upbeat rat song that we still play to this day. We just did it. We just played. We opened for Night Ranger a few days ago, which was fun. And
Wow,
we played I'm Insane. We played it second.
nice.
We opened with Wanted Man and went right into I'm Insane. We had
Wow,
Will Hunt on the drums from Evanescence,
wow.
and
Like, color me jealous. Yeah,
yeah, he's a
jeez.
great drummer. He played with us at the Monsters of Rock cruise, and he will be actually joining the band here at the end of the year. He's doing a show with us opening for Cinderella on
Love Cinderella.
this Friday, this weekend, and then he has a couple things he's got to do, and then he'll be joining us, I believe, in September. And
Oh,
he's supposed to stay all through 24 and part of 25 because Evanescence is
wow.
taking time off to do a record
Hmm.
next year, so he'll be
Busy doing
available.
that.
Yeah, so
Or
that's
available, yeah.
cool. hmm
Nice.
And so
Wow.
yeah, the show was fun the other night. We also got to meet Ted Nugent, if you're familiar with Uncle Ted.
Who's
Uh,
not at this
yeah,
point?
right.
Yeah,
Still pretty iconic guy, and
yeah.
he had been in a band, Damn Yankees,
Loved them
with
Yankees. Tommy
that was a
Shaw.
'90s band.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was '90s, wasn't it?
absolutely. Jack
Uh,
Blades was in there on the
Jack
first one.
Blades, who's getting up there. I mean, Jack Blades is almost 70 years old himself, and but those guys still kick ass. They had Kerry Kelly still
Absolutely.
in the band, Brad Gillis, who's
Nice. Brad
phenomenal,
Gillis.
but Ted Nugent was there. He must live near there, and he drove in. He drove his truck there, and he had his dogs, and he
Nice.
couldn't have been cooler. He was like a just your Uncle Ted. I don't
Uncle
know.
Ted. Yeah.
So that was pretty fun, and just got back yesterday. I didn't even sleep that night, so I kind of recovered
Wow.
yesterday. I'm here today, and then we fly out Friday to do the show with Cinderella, and Vixen's going to open the show.
Wow, very cool, very cool. Now, just quick question: are they billing it as a Cinderella show, or is it the Tom Kiefer band? They're a great band. They really
They are.
are.
They are. It's he's got a big band here. It's got with him 7 people. That's like
Wow.
Cool in the Gang.
Yeah, except it's not so cool in 2023. I mean,
Right.
how
We are
many people do you need to play "Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone"? I mean,
barely it's 7.
Well, okay, I believe you.
So, and then we're billed as Stephen Pearcy, the voice of Rat,
Nice.
and sometimes it's billed as Stephen Pearcy, the legendary voice of Rat.
Well, it's just understood. So, but sometimes you got to remind. That's all right.
That's right. And then Vixen, of course, they've continued on. We just
Mhm.
interviewed the original Janet Gardner.
I listened to it. It was good.
Yeah,
Real
yeah,
good.
she's good. I really liked her husband. They've continued on as their own thing,
Hmm.
and the Vixen has continued. They're going to be opening the show here in Big Flats.
Nice.
The venue is called Tags. I don't know when the show you're doing right now is going to air or not.
Hopefully in the next day or two. Very
Okay.
shortly.
So
Yeah.
then they might be able to hear about it in time that this is
So
Saturday.
7/5
July.
as we're recording here.
And July 8th, we'll be playing this gig. It's in upstate New York, Tags Summer Stage. So that should be a big show.
Very
Excited
cool.
about it.
Very, very cool. And so, I mean, when we were texting back and forth, albeit briefly, and I didn't want to fanboy out on you on the phone, but you had mentioned you do a lot of fly-in dates. And I'm always curious because I've never gotten to ask this question. I mean, I live in a little podunk town in Pennsylvania. For me to fly anywhere is like a dream. What's the life like of a touring musician that does fly-in dates? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I mean,
I do well. I don't like it. I hate to say that, but it is such a rigmarole. To do the whole traveling thing for me personally. I try to mitigate that as much as I can to make it more comfortable, but it's still a drag. And
sure.
we there's some airlines are better than others. I mean, we try to stick with Delta as much as possible. We also have to use Southwest.
Nice.
It's the airlines have been a bummer the last couple of years, but they've been a bummer since 9/11. Period. Just everything involved with security these days. It sucks. Like there's no getting around it. I try to do things like since we travel a lot on Delta, at least I can get on. I'm in like their Sky Silver Club or whatever, so they
Yeah.
like let me on pretty quick, like right after first class. And sometimes I get first class even. Now, yes, this trip back I had first class, so at least I can get on there and get my thing. But that guitar takes up like an entire bin, so they hate
Yeah,
me
no,
for
man.
that. So traveling, it sucks. That's the short answer. I do it for the fans. I do it for them, and I do it to get paid, and that's it.
I think I mentioned it when we were off air. I've been a fan of the Stephen Pearcy solo stuff since Fueler, and you had mentioned to me you were involved in it a bit, and it's good. But there was some really good stuff on there. Drive with Me, I believe, is on there.
Hmm.
There's a song called Gamblers and Thieves that's on there that's good. But
I did write that.
did you
Um,
really?
yeah,
It's
but
one of
again,
my
yeah,
favorites.
that was a situation where he needed a couple extra songs for it.
Hmm.
And this, I wasn't in his band yet, but I had gone up there and oh no, maybe I was. Maybe I joined right. That was maybe right around the time I joined the band. Um,
Hmm.
and that was my first experience with just like going in with into Matt's studio with Steven and creating a song right there on the spot.
Gamblers and
Sometimes,
Thieves. Wow.
yeah, like sometimes when also when there's maybe he'll have existing drums laying around. Like there was a couple of
Uh-huh.
songs on there that I had to write a song on the spot to drums that were already laid out, just to come up with an original thing that would fit over those drums, which is not how you would normally go about writing a song. But he just needed this done quick. They weren't big paying, record deals for him that he was gonna invest all this money into, recording them. So that's why those earlier ones aren't that, fantastic as the later ones might have been better. But
And that's what I never understood. I mean, and that song in particular, I mean, I can talk to you for an hour off air. I love that song. I had no idea you had a hand in writing it, to be honest with you, but I love that song. That's my favorite song on Fueler.
oh,
But the
okay.
last two Steven ones are miles ahead of any of his solo stuff, and you were intimately involved in both of those.
Right.
Tell me a
Those
little
I
bit about
did all.
those.
Those the Smash one. How he picked that, he had demos that I would send him for probably the last 15 years, where I had just a range of demos back when I had a hard disk recorder was one of the first
Mhm.
things I was doing, and that was back in like, I don't know, 2003. So those recordings were crappy. We had some, demo-y stuff, and he would hold on to this. I would think he forgot about it usually.
Mhm.
Some of the stuff he pulled out for Smash was literally like over 13 years before I had given him the idea. Songs like Jamie,
Really? Dude, that's
right.
another one that's like my favorite. Rain. Love
Rain
Rain.
Rain was cool. That probably I had written more recently to the album, because up until we got the deal with Frontiers, I had been
Mhm.
giving him stuff all those years, and so he finally goes, okay, these are the ones I want to do, and he gave me all these demos. Now, one of the songs he sent was very rough, and I go, I don't think this is me playing on this demo. It was just guitar. It was like a guitar. It sounded like it was recorded on a boombox or a small
Mhm.
handheld tape recorder, and it was just some rough guitar and him kind of mumbling some lines. And that song was I Can't Take It. Ended up being I Can't
Okay.
Take It. Now, Michael Raphael, that was actually a tape of him and Michael Raphael messing around. And I
Nice.
told him I didn't think that was me, but
Yeah.
it wasn't until he goes, well, I want to do this. So me and Matt really worked up the idea and put a lot into it, and actually added some
Nice.
stuff, uh, and then helped a lot. I helped a lot with the vocals, and had done an original solo and all these things for it. But
Yeah.
when the record came out, Michael was like, "Yo, that's my idea." So he did end up get actually, because that song actually was released before Smash came out. Like that song probably got us the deal with Frontiers, because they heard that and said, we're going to give you this deal. We want to put Smash on it. We don't want to put any of the other existing demos you have out or songs, just that one.
Mhm.
And then we had to come up with like another whatever 11 songs. So they basically consisted of all these old demos. Um, the record after that, View to a Thrill, I had
I
to
want I
write.
want to get into that one next for sure. I do have
Right,
one more
right.
question on this
Okay.
before we move
Yeah, yeah,
on, if
yeah.
I could.
Sure.
So I'm not looking away from you. I'm just looking at the track list here because I'm going to mix up the two. Dead Roses has
Okay.
quickly become, because I listen to these things, I cycle them in and out every once in a while, and I always pick up something I was like kind of like meh about before. Dead Roses is great. Jamie is my favorite. Rain is amazing, and I'm assuming that's why the I Can't Take It says 2017 after it on
Correct.
Spotify, because of what you just mentioned.
I just gave the backstory on it, and that's also
You
how
got it.
Michael Raphael got credited, because when that came out in 2017 and we did a video, he brought it up to Steve, and so then when we got the deal, we were able to properly credit him
Mhm.
with being a co-writer on it. But then the rest of it, also Chris Hagar, I should say, the opening track on there, I Know I'm Crazy.
Mhm.
He had a lot to do with that song too. But
Nice.
then everything else on there were just demos of mine that Steven and I did, and then same with the following record was all just Pearcy and me.
So do you ever walk up to Steven now and just go, "Do you ever thank God every day that you know me and I'm in your band?" Because I mean,
That's
like,
funny. No,
you
I
know,
wouldn't. That would be a little bit much. But the reason why I'm still here is because he is loyal to the people that help him, and
obviously.
he could have had any guitarist at any time in the last 20 years, and no matter what I was going through, or whether I was going through a heavy stage of my weight or not, he always let me play in the solo band. He was always happy
That's
with my
awesome,
playing,
man.
and I'm always grateful for that, because it doesn't take much to get booted from a national act, to be honest. You have to
I
kind
couldn't
of you
imagine.
know you're in a lot of cases you're going to be getting less than what the main guy gets. I when I first joined the band, my salary was very low in
Yeah.
comparison. I mean, but he's gradually, taken me up over the years, and now it's more at a career stage, earning. But I stuck with him through some very tight, hard times when Rat was having huge legal battles. He had his own personal,
Oh, believe
legal
me, I want to
stuff
have
going
you
on.
back 12 more times to talk about all these things. But yes, I mean, obviously loyalty rewards loyalty, and I mean that's awesome. And I couldn't be happier for you because I mean I think you're an awesome guy. I want to do a couple rapid fire things here. The next album, like you said, I cut you off. View to a Thrill. That one definitely had a James Bond theme to it. I've heard Steven mention that in interviews. How did you approach writing this one or getting into this one?
Well, we certainly had somewhat of a concept where he did want to do a James Bond type album because he's always been a huge fan of James Bond, going back to when I first met him in the late 80s when he moved in across the street from my parents. We He had a laser disc player back then. He would always have the James Bond movies going. And so that's something I was always aware of, and he just kind of modeled his life after James Bond. He would be zipping around in this. He had a Porsche 935, which wasn't a Aston Martin, but it was still a badass car. And
Yeah.
I would see him like outrun people that were rat fanatics that were chasing him in San Diego back when they were still a big deal. And he would time his car perfectly to open the garage door and like sneak in and close the door right in time and like evade these people. And he always just thought of himself like a spy or something like that. Always
Hell
his
yeah,
life always
man.
in danger. So he always wanted to do like a themed record like that. So we had kicked around titles for it. He had some, and then I thought it'd be fun to spoof the View to a Kill
Hell
movie, and just
yeah.
just just change the kill to thrill,
Hmm.
and View to a Thrill, and it ended up being pretty awesome. A highlight probably on there for me was Robby Krieger from The Doors, who just like
Hmm.
you're a fan of the 80s.
Hmm.
Me being 50 years old, it's like I grew up, my parents listened to the Doors. I've
Sure.
the
Love the
Doors have
Doors.
been
Hmm.
in my ears my whole life.
Yeah.
So to have this iconic guitarist agree to, Steven met him at a party one night and
Wow.
said, "Hey man, you want to play on my record?" And like he's like, "Yeah, why not?" And
Wow.
Robbie has his own studio, so I didn't get to watch him do it, but I mean he just played slide guitar all over the song. Which one was it? It was let me look. You have it right here.
Yeah, I
Not
put it
killing
on
me,
there.
not
Yeah.
killing me. Um, I had
Wow.
I had originally had all the guitars done on it, but when he agreed that he wanted to play on something, they ended up giving him that one, and he plays all the slide guitar that you hear through the
Wow.
whole song. So like that was to me like I was so blown away that he had performed on a song that I had written,
Oh
especially
my
that
God.
one because I'd written
Absolutely.
a lot of the lyrics to it too. So it was like
Nice.
pretty phenomenal.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah.
You know, now that I know this, I'm a huge fan of this record too. I mean, You Only Live Twice is amazing. I like Sky Falling. Malibu is great. I'm a Rat. I mean, these last two records, you guys are on a roll. How do you feel about this one as a whole, or even the last
I
two?
was I well when you come up with a record, you do your best to just get it completed. There's always things that you probably would have done differently. I'm not an engineer, if you will. Like we use Matt
Sure.
Thorne, who's now currently our bassist, and he's done most of the Pearcy records, if not all of them.
Hmm.
So when I come in, I have the demos. We have on View to Thrill, Scott Coogan
Hmm.
played drums. So he just basically replaced the drums I wrote on drum machines, which he
Hmm.
did a phenomenal job of, by the way. That guy knocked out all the songs in 2 days on the drums,
Love
which
Scott Coogan. Love Scott Coogan.
financially, that was a big assist for Steven. Um, But anyways, the stuff gets really rushed though, because my point is that the budgets
Yeah.
aren't that huge. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We don't have time to get experimental in there. So we're lucky if we could just get all the things basically done and then have a couple of days even just to mix it. So, there's things I would have probably mixed a little differently or what have you, but I have to just be at peace with it. You know what I mean? There was deadlines involved, and after Smash was
Mhm.
released, it was like, all right, now I gotta come up with this whole thing. There wasn't no 15 years of demos anymore. There was like, you got 6 months to write this entire record.
Yeah.
So that was a pressure for me, that I had to rise to deliver. So I was proud of myself that I at least completed that, and then I'm proud of Steven that he was able to come in there and we're able to like get the lyrics done, because I have no idea what he sings on this stuff before we go in there.
Right.
Uh, but somehow we work well together. Matt, Steven, and myself can like produce him enough to like, Steven has awesome ideas.
Mhm.
He comes in with like kind of chicken scratched, school paper, like trapper keeper
Nice.
paper, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I go, how do you even read that? He just has these scribbled ideas, and he has his glasses on. He's like, oh, let's see here. We just, I don't know. Somehow we do it. If we should be filming that stuff, because I
You
think people would
should.
be impressed that like we walk in not having anything and then leave there and it's kind of finished. Where when bands start out, they have so much time to like perfect their songs and work them out. You kind of get past that when you're a professional. You just have to like be able to get in there and kick it out, which we did. The biggest regret
Honestly, yeah.
that I have with it is, originally it was supposed to be a 3 album deal with Frontiers, and for some reason Steven had renegotiated that to just have it be two, and so the pandemic had ended up coming in right after that, and by 20, this came out in 2018.
18.
uh,
Yeah.
yep, Steven did a brief thing, like a rat thing with Juan, and then our record kind
Yeah.
of, we didn't get to really tour on it. So
Yeah.
we didn't do a video, so that sucked. So those are regrets that I have, and it's not too late though. I mean, we could still do a video for View to a Thrill. Smash had the 10 Miles Wide video and a video for I Can't Take It, which is kind of hard to find, but that there's two that we did. There's no videos for View to Thrill. I would like to do a video for one of the songs on there, maybe when Steven gets it back, because like right now Smash just went back to Pearcy. Like, he owns that record now. Frontiers doesn't have it.
Nice.
They have the records for like 5 years at a time. So in another year, we'll get View to a Thrill back. We could very well do a video and re-release it. We've been kicking around all kinds of cool
Nice.
ideas, box sets for
Well,
the
hey,
solo, perhaps.
Uncle Steven, remember who got Erik on this topic. When you're filming the video, I'm available. I'm just saying. This is my good side. I'm just saying. Um, Anyways, I mean, that's awesome, and I'm so happy that actually brings me into the next thing, and you sound very, very knowledgeable about this stuff. I know Frontiers because they kind of, at least to me, they burst onto the scene in like the last 6 or 7 years.
Right.
They're an Italian label, if I'm not mistaken, and they release pretty much 95% of the stuff I listen to, so I love them. Um,
Right.
but I have heard from other people, from other interviews, and I'm not talking out of school here. He said this in print, but Jack White from, Jack Russell from Jack
Okay.
Russell's Great
Right.
White, not to be confused with the Jack Russell less Great White. Um, that is just Great White. He basically bought his record back from them and basically said, they don't promote it, blah, 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 and all this other stuff. Here's my confusion as a fan, and maybe you can clear this up for me because you've been with Steven for so long. And I hear him in every interview say, I started Top Fuel Records because I knew. And it's like, well, then how come we don't get records on the regular? Because I like, what am I missing here? Because listen, I have to save up to be poor, but I have the $20 to buy the record, or I'm wicked into vinyl. I will buy these. I have hundreds. I'm that guy. Why does it
Right.
take so long?
Well, he's, the Top Fuel Records moniker. I mean, certainly he always wanted to have like a full blown label, but regardless of whether he had a full, legit label or not. He needed to have a business entity as an umbrella for his works, especially for when he gets control of them back, which
Mhm.
most of them I think he eventually did get back and owns. And then, so basically, even when he does these deals with these labels, Top Fuel Records is still kind of put on there as like a middleman in a sense, almost like a production company,
Mhm.
more so probably. But
And then
he
you
does.
license it to these labels.
Correct.
I'm guessing. I
Correct. You
gotcha.
got it.
Okay.
You just hit it right on the head.
Okay.
That's cool that he does that because, obviously, Rat, for example, Atlantic Records own those records, those masters for this whole time.
Thirty
From what
some years. Yeah.
that yeah, it's like they end up owning stuff for like 40 years plus,
Mhm.
especially those major label deals from back then.
Yeah.
Um, I think Steven might be staying with you. I think, well, you know what? I don't want to speak on his behalf on what business directions he's going, but I think they are
Sure.
renegotiating with some of their original deals, just, which is
Yeah.
good for him, but, uh,
So,
yeah,
what is the advantage then for an artist? Like you said, Steven bought out the last option for the third record. What's the advantage of doing that? Just so you can do with it what you want, or
the advantage in his mind, this is my opinion of
mm,
what he was thinking, was that he was making some big moves right at that time, and
right
he
on.
thought he was going to get a more valuable deal somewhere else. Now, what he didn't have was the crystal ball to know that the whole COVID thing was going to happen, and basically the whole world was going to
Yeah.
shut down. He did not see that coming. So
Unfortunately, no one did. Yeah.
no, so it's been a slow recovery for
Sure.
most businesses. The record business is no exclusion there. So
Yeah.
if we had that deal in place, that would have been a lot easier for us to have gotten something out sooner. Because now this just prolonged everything. Couple that with, he did dance around with a couple of labels, Golden
Mhm.
Robot, and some of these other ones that we were
Yeah.
talking about going with, but things are, we weren't sure how those were going, so
I
there's
like
just been
them
some
too.
delays.
They have good
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
right. Let me fix. I think I like lost a headlight here. Boom. I had a
Right on.
padiddle. You know what a padiddle is?
I heard the word. I do not.
My dad told me about this. I haven't heard it anywhere else, but he said a padiddle is when, like, you're driving down the highway and a car comes at you that's only got one headlight. And in some cases, you can punch the person next to you when that happens. You could go like padiddle, poop, and you just punch them right in the arm.
Oh
I
yeah, we
lost
used to have
lost
the
one of
we
those.
used to have the punch buggy when you'd see a Volkswagen, you'd whack somebody and go
There you
punch
go.
buggy. So that was our
Yeah,
version, I guess. Yeah.
it's like the evil version of the Wave game or something. I don't know.
There you go, man. That's awesome. And honestly, thank you for letting me know because I think there's a lot of fans, whether you listen to whatever music you listen to, when one of your bands or an artist that you like, when they're not doing stuff when they should be doing stuff, and you hear stuff about labels and you hear stuff about, oh, I think I could do this, I think I could do that. It's nice to hear an explanation as to, like, this is my livelihood, and if it's not working out well for me here, I have to try to do it over here. And yeah, we didn't see COVID coming, but now you guys obviously are back on the upswing. I know Steven's out, touring. I know that there's that legacy box set that he's putting out. Anything you want to tell us about that?
Right. His legacy box set is like a best of,
Mm-hmm.
apparently, and Rat
And are you
also has
doing
a
any
couple.
work on that, or is that
Yeah,
more an
there's
archival?
legacy. I believe it's going to include some of his solo works, and honestly, he hasn't given me this thing, or I haven't seen the track listing on it yet. So I just kind of
Cool.
go off what he says when I see him here and there. He always goes, "Yeah, my legacy record's coming out," and I don't really. I know it's not a record he and I just did, so he's obviously, it must be a collection of like unreleased stuff, or something like that. I mean, he did talk about, when I saw him this last time, because he was going to be going back with Universal or something for his publishing, and
Cool.
He was mentioning putting out some type of box set for all the solo stuff, and if that happens, that would be phenomenal.
That would be
Um,
phenomenal.
for
You
me,
better
just
have
also,
like an album dedicated to yourself. Yeah.
right now, but my aspirations moving forward, I would love to do like the best Pearcy record he's ever done and I've ever done, something that we could just be like, okay, now we can hang it up, or whatever. I don't know, something, but just something to be like,
There we
okay, no
go.
matter what happens, we know we made that masterpiece, which
I
we
mean,
haven't made yet.
I think, yeah, which, and it's, you're always striving for, to make the best thing. And I mean, that's how you stay successful. And I think that's awesome. To get off the Stephen Pearcy thing, because I'm sure you're asked about it in every interview, every time you interview, so you're probably sick of it. So I'm going to go a little left field here on you. I have some guitar related questions because you're a wicked guitar player. I am not. I know nothing about playing guitar. I tried once. I was charged $75 a lesson. I had to buy $300 or $400 in guitars. I had to buy a tuner. I had to buy special strings. This is before I knew what chords were. And then I had to buy a book, and it was just a disaster, and I've never gone back to it. I'm always very, very impressed by folks that are guitar players, and I always wonder their opinions on other guitar players. And I hear you and Chris Aiken on the last Chris Aiken Presents, you guys when you were talking about Brittany Fox and stuff, and you were talking guitar playing. So I was wondering if I could pick your brain a bit about that.
Please do.
I'm assuming, since I had such a bad experience the first time at 37 years old, guitar is something I should just kind of let pass me by at this point. I don't think it's a hobby that someone at my age should be picking up.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, but go on.
So, my first thing is, like I said, I love guitar playing. I love any different kind of music. You guys were mentioning underrated guitar players or people that they don't know play guitar, like Mark Torian from the Bullet Boys, which is weird because I'm 37 and I know that. But what's weird to me is he never plays guitar in the Bullet Boys, or maybe he does now.
He hasn't in the last few years, but I have seen him go out and play like a second guitar, usually with he's tried to make Bullet Boys a 2-guitar band for a pretty long time. I think most recently he's gone back to just singing again, which is what everybody has told him he should do, because he is a very like animated frontman. When he's got that guitar, he's kind of stuck there playing it.
And I'm a fan of the Bullet Boys. I like more than just Smooth Up In Ya. I really do.
Right.
Roll Over was the best song they've made in years, I think. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I love all that stuff. I'm like, some people think that I'm like a hardcore, punk rock, or I like death metal or something. And, I really don't. The heavy death metal stuff doesn't resonate with me very much. Like I like melody. I like decent production on music. So, I loved all the rock stuff. Whether it was Bullet Boys, Brittany Fox was a guilty pleasure. I remember buying that tape, but I was young at this time. I'm 50 now. Yep. Then I was only like 15 when that came out. So your tastes kind of change. But some of those songs we had on as you watch the episode, they're still good.
They're great.
Bassist, the bassist, Billy Childs. Billy from Philly. He's going to be an upcoming guest. We just played with them recently, so I sat him down. I go, man, you got to come on the Chris Aiken Presents. And I
was listening to that, and I hope you get him. And I don't want to stir any shit here, but I would love to know what happened with the whole Brittany Fox, Tommy Paris thing, because like one camp just said we don't know what's going on, the other camp's like come see us over here. Dizzy Dean, nobody likes him, which is weird because I love Girl School and those first 2 albums, so put them back together, Erik, please. Put everybody in Brittany Fox back together.
I know that we'll ask him anything. You want us to focus in on asking him the singer related questions, we will. And if anyone else has questions, let us know. I'm going to probably try to get him in this Monday if I can.
Nice.
If not the following. Yep. He's
just being a Pennsylvania boy, I wish they would have really made it. I wish they would have really broke. They had a major label deal and all that, but I wish they really would have made it because they were good. I loved all that Pennsylvania Cinderella, the first Bon Jovi record before he became awful. You know,
I
I
would have
love
thought
all
Bon
that stuff.
Jovi would have hung in there longer than he did. Because that was a band that really was at the top, success wise, of the 80s. But as far as to answer, to your point, it was going to be hard in the 90s, as you know, with the grunge
Mhm.
scene coming. Any of these bands that were seen as having big hair were totally doomed in the 90s, and Britney Fox definitely had. I mean, those might have even been giant wigs. I might have to
Who
ask him that.
knows?
I will. That might be
Who
one of
knows?
my questions for him.
There you go.
I always heard that whole band wore like big, you know, poodle wig things, but if you were known for that, you were not going to survive the next 5 years. That was going to be it by 1991, 92.
Yeah.
But
And
back
that's
then,
when I came into loving music, and that's when grunge exploded, and that
right,
kind of hence what this podcast is about, regardless of what we're talking
right.
about. But
The
even
90s had
Steven,
great stuff. The 90s had great music.
absolutely,
The 90s had great
absolutely.
music.
I mean, Steven went right into arcade. I mean, some '80s guys tried, but it was just a different time. I mean, there was a band in the '90s called Talk Show, which was like an STP side project that I thought was really really good.
Yeah,
And a lot of these bands, it's funny to me, being a 37-year-old now, these are like nostalgia acts. And I'm like,
right.
wait a minute, what? I'm not that old. I guess I'm that old. I don't know,
Well, I'll
but
tell you that I turned 18 in 1990. I turned
mhm,
18, and at that time, Stone Temple Pilots was just coming out. I got to
mhm.
my band that I was in at the time, because I've been playing in bands since I was 17.
Nice.
My band Voodoo, that we had then, used to open for most national acts that came through in the 90s, and
Wow.
Stone Temple Pilots was no exception. They had come through playing a club that's not there anymore. It was in Pacific Beach, called Club 860, and this was
Wow.
on their first tour. Like, Sex Type Thing was on the radio, and I knew they were going
Nice.
to be huge when I heard that. I was like, this is the most,
Yeah.
at that time when that song came out, we needed that, because we needed something kind of heavy sounding on the radio, because there
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
much else going on. Like, most some of the more poppy 90s stuff was very basic,
Yeah.
and so this was like a heavy package thing, and the video was heavy. Anyways, got to open that show for them,
Wow.
and they just took off from there.
I bet.
um there was a ton of other bands too. Probably I almost have to get in more 90s mode to remember
I know.
everybody, but
I wish I would have been better prepared. I mean, I know it's awesome. Obviously, I didn't know you've been playing it since 17. So, I mean, you grew up in that era when all
yeah.
that stuff was happening. Now you're playing with Stephen Pearcy, which is also cool. Is there a difference from when you're playing with one person to another person? Like, do you really have to focus on what you're doing when you're switching band to band or playing a different style of music?
I have to focus more when I'm doing a different band. Steven's
Nice.
band, I don't, just because it's been so many years, and he hasn't really. I mean, we've added songs over the years, but most of the songs that we play, I've been playing for several years, so it's
Right.
kind of like muscle memory on most of them. No matter what I have going on, like I,
Hmm.
I have no problem usually playing those songs. The most recent one we added in that we didn't do was "I Want a Woman," so I
Nice.
kind of maybe focus in a little bit. Now we've been playing it for like a couple of months, so that's another one.
Now, is there any songs, and I've always wondered this because I've never heard anybody ever ask this in interviews. Like, does Steven make the set list and say, "Here's what you're playing," or do you say, "Oh, I feel like
I
doing this"?
used to. I used to. I used to do the set list for so many years, and I don't know. I just in the last couple of years, I just, I was slow. I had other things going on, and I was busy, and I have to admit, like,
Nice.
I haven't really put the list. There was a couple times where he started putting a list, like he wanted to play these certain songs. If I say anything, it's just to remind him that we have to have some. Uh,
The big stuff, the real
well,
big stuff.
the big stuff, but just what order? It's more the order for me. I'll play whatever he wants,
Okay.
but we
Hmm.
just have to like work the order out for the tunings and everything. Like, if some of the
Oh,
songs, yeah,
right.
like our drop D, like lack of communication, you're in love, lay it down. We kind of got to play those together, otherwise we're going to be changing guitars every 10 minutes. And
Oh,
that's always a pain in the ass. Like when I have to take a guitar off, grab the other one, and then take that
I
one
never
off, put
thought
the
of
other one
that.
back. Yeah, like that's why I
Okay.
travel with two guitars just for that, just for those tunings,
So you could switch
basically.
back and forth.
Right,
Cool.
right.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, if I have any say in it, if you guys ever feel like it, I've never heard it live. I would love to hear the song "Bottom Line." That's an
Okay.
old deep cut from Rad. I've never heard it. If you guys are ever in the mood to throw in something new, feel free.
Definitely.
Last couple things here, just to kind of do a little rapid fire on you. Do you feel like, I'm just asking because now that COVID's everybody's kind of over it now and everybody's getting back to normal, I want to start getting back out to concerts. The last concert I went to see, I'll be honest with you, was 6 years ago. It was the Replacements farewell tour.
Nice.
And I loved it because it ended up being their last U.S. show. And I didn't know that. And then like a month later, he's like, yeah, I just did this for the money. We're done now. And I was like, oh no. But now that I'm getting back out to concerts, I live in Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm trying to think. The Crocodile Rock in Allentown is probably the closest thing anybody musician-wise would know of. They're not even a thing anymore. Or the Staircase. No bands come around here. So in 2023, I know it's not easy, booking tours and stuff like that. But if I want to come see Stephen Pearcy, am I only going to be able to see him on a package tour? Or are you guys planning on doing smaller places or places that are maybe out of the way?
We'll go wherever they'll pay up, man. Pay up.
Well, I'll pay. I mean, I have very little money, but I'll give it to you.
The economy plays into it. I mean, as far as like who can afford to have national acts coming through, usually that's the case. If there's a city that we haven't been to, it's usually because they're not booking they're not paying more than a certain amount for a certain echelon of bands there.
Gotcha.
But while I'm here, I'm gonna look up his. Let me see here, just to see, because I feel like
I know he's playing. He is. You guys are playing in York at a fair,
right.
and I want to go down and see it. And the only problem is I'm trying to. Unfortunately, for those that can't tell, I have a day job, so I'm trying to get off because I believe it's on a Tuesday.
It is. It's with Vince Neil, actually. Vince Neil and Quiet Riot. I can't speak to much of that stuff. I mean, I have nothing to do with the bookings of the shows, but I'm always thrilled when we add any, because I go, great, rent's paid, for next month.
Oh my god.
We have a good amount. I was even thinking like at the end of July, this is going to be the first time that I ever leave for like weeks at a time. That we have enough show to leave for weeks. Where I've been in a relationship the last 3 years. This will be the longest that I've had to leave, and we just kind of realized that last night, my lady and me.
Yeah.
That's always tough. I was single for so long and had my own place for so long, and I moved in here this past year. I'm happy that I'm in a relationship. I'm also happy that we have cats. She has a cat. I have a cat. They're both become stars, by the way, on the podcast, on the Chris Aiken Presents. Usually, one of the two cats makes.
That's what I'm hearing. I gotcha.
I got a tortie cat named Kylie, and she has a Turkish van. My girlfriend's Susan, which we talk about her all the time too. Which you have to be careful when you do that, by the way. If
she doesn't hate me yet.
No, but if I don't know if you're in a relationship, but you have to be careful when you joke around about your lady during your podcast. I'm just giving you that professional advice.
Obviously, I have a face for radio. I was told I had to do video, or believe me, I would not have my face anywhere near a camera.
Don't say that. You know what? I'm not Brad Pitt myself, but I think that people appreciate normal looking people. You know what I mean? They can identify with that more. Like even me, when I was a teenager playing music, it was hard for me to relate to some of the glammy hair bands that were there, because I didn't look like that. I didn't wear makeup and like have my hair teased up. I liked Metallica because they looked like I did. I had scraggly long hair and zits on my face. You know what I mean? Like I go, these guys are like me. So I don't know, man. Just you have to play the hands God dealt you and do your best and then entertain people and make a commitment to entertain, and that shines through. And
ain't that the truth, man?
Yeah.
Erik Ferentinos lifting us up here on the 90s Addict podcast. I love that. Yes, sir. I love it. And honestly, I know I said this to you off air, not to kiss your ass, but I mean, you and Chris, you guys really have a good chemistry, and I hope you keep doing it because it really is attracting an audience. People I don't think know what to do with themselves after being in isolation for 3 years. So podcasting and music especially is a great therapy, in my opinion.
I agree. I
Um,
love podcasts, and I'll be absolutely subscribing to yours and checking out too.
Thank
I'm
you.
always looking for cool independent shows to watch. That's my favorite.
Thank you. Our podcasts are awful, so this is going to be the best one because it's me and my co-host Steve, who I love to death. But we do a lot of album reviews, so I mean, we'd love to have you on if you ever want to pick apart an album.
Sure.
We have a little bit of a weird twist to it because I don't like the whole let's compare track one to track one. Like, well, who the hell cares? So like we do like a points thing. It's kind of fun. I mean, I'm usually half in the bag, so I mean, it's a good time. So if you're ever interested, I would love to have you on, and Steve would too. As long
Sure.
as you're in the mood. That
Yeah,
is.
no, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you guys do the show live or not. If it's pre-recorded, I'm sure we could,
We
work
always
out anything.
pre-record. I'm way too
Okay.
much of an idiot to do anything live.
Hey
Yeah.
man, it would probably be better if Chris and I were pre-recorded too, because I'm Sagittarius. I'm known to have a big mouth, and I almost got us. It wasn't me necessarily that got the classic metal show canceled on YouTube, but certain topics that could come up could cancel your show if you're not careful. You have to
I
keep
know what you mean, and I've yet to figure out whatever cancel culture is because, like, if you look at somebody the wrong way, you're in trouble. So
it's scary. It's scary times, especially for comedy. But I do feel like being funny is the best, remedy for people's depression. There's enough
absolutely.
scary news out there and stuff. So people love music. Like you're doing a music show, pop culture.
Mhm.
I love pop culture. I'm a sucker for it. Anything
Obviously,
from
that's awesome.
70s, 80s, 90s. I'm all in. So bring
Dude,
it.
I'll put the green screen down next time. You could see this like nerd stadium that I'm in with all my action figures and all that garbage. So yeah, I'm a little kid at heart, and I love all that stuff. And I miss the analog days. I was the guy that was all about digital. Now that everything's digital, I want everything to be back to analog. So
Hmm.
for whatever that's worth. In closing here, before I want to have you plug, your solo stuff, but in closing here, I just was curious, what are your future plans? Not just with Steven and stuff, but like, what are your future plans music wise? What do you got coming up?
Well, I'm always gonna, keep an open mind to doing anything. For an example, in 2020, right before everything went to shit, I
Uh-huh.
got a call to play for the band Bow Wow Wow, which was
Nice.
totally out of my field. You know what I mean? But it
Yeah.
was. I accepted the challenge. It was. I felt like it's something I needed to do maybe at that time, and in the future,
Oh yeah.
I'm only bringing that up because who knows, what band might entertain having me play or something like that, and I'd be potentially open to it. As with the
Uh-huh.
future, I'm also digging the podcasting thing, mostly because I don't have to leave my house.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
so if I could somehow make this a successful business thing, as I hope it becomes for you too, my friend,
Thank you very
um,
much.
we
And I'm sure you
that's
will.
an
You're on your way there.
I'm gonna keep doing it as you requested. Something tells me that I should be doing it with Chris, so I'm going to continue to go at it. We're in our 6th month.
Yeah.
So in the future, maybe I'll have my own show too. But this was a great way to get into the game, and I was honored that Chris, who's an accomplished author and been doing the
You
show. I love the
really.
classic metal show
Yeah.
over 20 years. I
Hmm.
love that show, and this was an honor. And just like I had an open mind when he asked me about it, I'm open to
Hmm.
whatever. I go where I'm wanted. I'm like the Incredible Hulk, and like the end of the show, you just see me walking
Nice.
away, David
Nice.
Banner, and then when you need the Hulk, call me and I'll show up.
Nice.
Hulk smashes!
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's going to be a great thumbnail for this video if I could figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
But no, I listen. I will forever be great. You agreed to do this with me, and honestly, I'm a fan of your guitar playing and stuff for 20 years. Um, One real quick question I have, because I was doing my research last week and just looking you up a little bit and trying to look into some stuff I was not aware of. Had played with a band called Mad Architect. Is that right?
Right. Right.
They're out of
That.
Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Snowy
You're
Shaw and
speaking
those guys.
Snowy Shaw. Snowy Shaw. You guys got to look this dude up because he is a legit like black metal character out of Sweden.
Mhm.
That is just everything out of a heavy metal cartoon, But he was the drummer for King Diamond for many years, and
He was also in a band called, which I love, out of Sweden, called Loud and Nasty, with a guy named
mm-hmm.
Rob Nasty. And
Right.
sorry, that's how I know him. So when I saw you played on that album, I'm like, I got to ask you, how was it like playing with those guys?
Well, that is a funny quick story. There's not much to this story other than we had a mutual friend here in the United States that
Mm-hmm.
hit me up one day and goes, "Hey, did you say you knew how to play bass?" Because she had heard that when we're doing demos for Pearcy that I just play the bass on them, and on my one of the bands I did of my own called the Anti Division, I played
Mm-hmm.
bass on the record, and she had heard that.
Nice.
Asked me, she said, "Do you play bass?" And I go, "Well, kind of." She's like, "Whoa, my friend." It was the guitarist that had the project Mad Architect with Snowy was looking
Mm-hmm.
for someone to play the bass on it to finish it up. And basically, since I wasn't really a professional bass player, I just agreed to do it for free. And I said,
Wow.
fine. And I really didn't even have that great of equipment, I think, at the time, but I just kind of went through and played the bass on that particular thing and sent it over and kind of never heard much about it. The record came out,
Mm-hmm.
Snowy sells it, and flash forward, it must, because that was, I feel like that had to be around 2012 or 13 or something.
I was gonna say,
So
I think that's what I saw. 13, 14. Yeah.
so flash forward or fast forward. I always say flash. I don't know why I say flash forward instead of I'm a retard.
No worries.
Fast forward to like, I don't know, a year ago, I get this
Yeah.
messenger on Facebook from the man Snowy Shaw himself, and he goes,
Wow.
"Hey, is this you?" And he shows the Mad Architect record, like he didn't
The
even know
cover
I
art.
played on it. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh
He didn't
my
even know I
God.
played on it. He says, "That's your name, isn't it? Aren't you?" He saw my name on
Snowy.
Facebook. Yeah, and I go, "Yeah, man." He's like, and he goes, "Why? Why did you even bother with that?" Like, and I go, "Well, hey, man, I heard the
Yeah.
iconic, Snowy Shaw one." I just kind of, whatever, kissed his ass for a
That's
second. I was
so
just kidding.
awesome.
And he said
Great
thanks, and that was
story.
it. And yeah,
Wow, that is a great, great story. Last question, real easy guitar related question. I've always wondered this, but you're the guitar aficionado. So I've heard Stephen Pearcy say he's a guitar player first. I've seen Stephen Pearcy play guitar about 3 times in my entire life. Is there a reason he doesn't play, or you
well,
got it all covered?
most recently, live. You're asking like why he doesn't play
I
live.
mean, on live, yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't. There's times where we talked about having him do that. The only time I recall him actually playing guitar at a live tour was acoustically. We did a strip tour back.
I saw that tour. I saw you
Yeah,
on that tour. The Metal Mania Unplugged
right.
or Metal Mania
Yeah.
Stripped tour. Yeah.
Another thing I was totally unprepared for. I had to like borrow a guitar for that.
I
But
could tell you
he
my horror story about that.
tell you that he played on that tour. He played with me and Frankie. We had like 3 acoustics kind of going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he could play guitar. Now, can he sing and play guitar equally? Probably not. He kind of leaves that to us. Like he could probably do one or the other well. Can he do both well? I don't know. That's up
Fair
to.
enough. I was honestly curious why a lot of, like you mentioned, Mark Torian, nobody knows he's a guitar player. I didn't realize it's really an acquired skill to be able to do both at the same time. From what you're saying.
It is. It's at soundcheck there's some Rat songs that I could sing and play guitar, like "Wanted Man" or "Lay It Down." Like we'll typically do
Mm-hmm.
one of those, and I'll sing it and play it. But that's only because I've played these songs on guitar for so many years that I could like
It's
detach
muscle
my
memory.
brain from the playing
Yeah.
part, yeah, and actually think about the singing part. But it's not easy to do. Kurt Cobain, those Nirvana songs were like, I don't want to say they were easy to play, but those guys kind of played a more punk rocky thing, which was a little similar. To play more technical hard rock and stuff and sing is kind of difficult. It could be,
Right
you know.
on.
But yeah, Steven plays guitar. Another guy I mentioned on one of the recent Chris Aiken episodes is Mark Slaughter. A lot of people don't realize that he
I
rips on
did
guitar.
hear you say that. I only know that because I listened to an interview where he basically told Eddie Trunk for 15 minutes that he was a guitar player and you should recognize.
Right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, with Pearcy, I can tell you, Pearcy has a cameo. He wants me to get a cameo. I don't have one yet, but if anyone
I
wants to
heard
see,
that. Yeah, you
anyone
should.
who wants to see Steven play guitar, just pay whatever it is, $20-$30, and tell him to play a part of a song and sing you a song, and he does
So
that all
that's
the
how I
time.
get bottom line. I got to pay $30 for the
Yeah.
cameo. Okay, right on.
Probably, and he'll hack his way through it.
Well, you better be there just to say I told you so. You know, you better be there.
Yeah, like,
I'm just
there
kidding.
he is.
You got the song. I told you I'd make it happen. Thank you
Say
so
that'd be
much,
good.
man. It's been so much fun. I could keep you on for another hour. We've been on for an hour already, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, but I mean, I could talk for 3 more. So thank you much. Tell us
We'll
where
have
to
to do
find
it
you.
again.
Please.
You can
Yes.
find me. I don't have too much going on online at the moment. I just have the typical Facebook, Erik Ferentinos, Instagram. I just started. People have had their Instagrams for like a decade. I just started one like about
Same.
6 months ago. But at Erik Ferentinos. And then, of course, please, for the Chris Aiken Presents, anybody watching this, not only on YouTube, but please sign up on Rumble, because you never know with my big mouth. I could get us kicked off of there, or Chris's big mouth. Who knows? We both have big mouths, and that's dangerous.
Hey, it's dangerous, but it's entertaining, and that's what we want.
That's twice as dangerous if you do the math on that. But please sign up just as a backup. But Rumble, YouTube, Chris Aiken Presents. We're live Mondays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, definitely check those guys out. Love the CMS, love Chris Aiken, Neely, all those guys over there. And you guys are just, I mean, with the Chris Aiken Presents, it brings a whole new dimension to it. I can't wait to get through the Robby talk and see what he has to say. Which is weird because we're both Pennsylvania boys. He has the Philly accent. I don't have it as much as he does, but my God, I mean, I'd give my left arm to be able to sing like him. Good Lord. But,
great guy.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on, Erik. Hope to have you on again soon.
Thanks, Ray. That was awesome, bro. Best of luck with the show, and I'll come on again. Let me know anytime.
Yes, sir. Thank you.